Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why drivers have trusted Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years. Just tell Progressive what you want to pay, and they'll show you coverage options that fit your budget. Visit Progressive.com to find a car insurance rate that works for you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Hi, this is Jillian, and you are listening to episode 16 of the Court Junkie podcast. Thanks everybody for listening, and just as a reminder, if you like this show, please spread the word about it. Tell your family, your friends, and even random people you meet on the street. And don't forget to subscribe and leave me a review if you haven't already. Also, as a reminder, I do have a Facebook group where we discuss these cases and many other ones. It's a great little community, and I would love it if you joined. Just go to courtjunkie.com/Facebook. And aside from that, you can find me on Twitter at courtjunkiepod, and you can always email me too at podcast@courtjunkie.com. Now, on to the show. Today's episode is about the tragic loss of 4 lives, but a heroic stop to the loss of what likely would have been many others. I feel like any time we hear about serial killers, they're always a little older, more established, and that's why they're called serial killers, right? Because they've killed more than once. In this case, although there are 4 victims, the killer was only 20 years old at the time of his arrest. 4 murders by 20 years old. Can you even imagine how many more there would have been if he hadn't been caught by, say, the age of 40? This episode is perhaps another cautionary tale to always be careful of your surroundings and to never think you know what a murderer might look like. This episode is about the case and trial of one of Canada's youngest serial killers. It was a Saturday night around 9:45 p.m. on November 27th, 2010. A constable with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, Aaron Kelleher, a rookie officer, was driving down Highway 27 near Vanderhoof, BC. He was returning from an accident scene when he saw a black 2004 GMC pickup truck speeding out from an old remote logging road. It sped out onto the highway, and Kelleher began following it. He would later say that something about it just didn't seem right. He couldn't think of a reason why that truck would be there in the first place, pulling out of an old abandoned road in the dark of the night and then speeding away like that. He continued to follow the truck, whose speed clocked at 110 kilometers an hour, or about 70 miles per hour. The license plate was covered, so the officer couldn't make out the numbers. He turned on his lights and decided to pull the truck over. As he got out of his car and approached the truck, he saw that the driver already had his license and registration sticking out of the window. The driver was a young blonde man who was wearing shorts and a sweater, which Kelleher found a little odd, since he himself was wearing long johns in this cold weather. He noticed that the man had a red smear on his chin, which looked like blood, and more on his thighs. He noticed an open beer can in the truck, and he ordered the man to step outside so he could conduct a search. When the man got out of his car, Kelleher saw more blood dripping down his legs, and even more blood on his shoe. There was also a puddle of red, watery liquid on the floor mat. Another officer, Constable Sidhu, arrived on the scene. They both began searching the vehicle, looking for more open containers of alcohol. They found Kahlua mudslide drinks behind the seat, but they also found a bloody pipe wrench behind the center console, and what looked like a girl's backpack in the shape of a monkey. Kelleher gave the man a pat-down, and he felt something sharp in the man's pocket. He removed a multi-tool Leatherman knife that also looked like it was covered in blood. He instructed the man to get in the back of the officer's vehicle so he could stay warm while they continued to search the truck. At that point, Kelleher suspected that the man may have been illegally hunting or poaching, so he asked Officer Sidhu to call a conservation officer to the scene. The man told him his name was Cody Legebokoff and that he was 20 years old. When Kelleher asked him questions about what he had been doing, his answers weren't making much sense to him. Conservation Officer Cameron Hill arrived at the scene and started questioning Cody.
Okay, before I talk to you, whenever I have somebody in my vehicle, I always do this. Now, have they told you you're under arrest or anything like that?
No.
No? Okay. Now, no.
Oh, I was like, what the heck?
Yeah. No, and you're not here either, but I just want you to know, whenever I put someone in the vehicle, I always read my charter rights, just so you know that you don't have to talk to me. You can, you don't have to answer my questions.
You know what, I will, though.
And that's fair enough, but just let me run through this here first. So, as I understand it, the investigation at this point kind of centers around killing a mule deer, no open season in this area right now for mule deer, possibly dumping it, so wastage of meat, that kind of a thing. So that's what I'm investigating, or maybe some other Wildlife Act offenses. So just so you know, you're not obliged to say anything, but anything you do say, maybe give it evidence. So you understand that?
Officer Hill continues telling Cody about his rights, but I'm not going to bore you with all of that audio. Then, once that's out of the way, he starts questioning him about what he was up to that night.
Maybe just tell me, take it from the top, like tell me what's, this whole thing, I don't know if I'm getting the story right or not, but just tell me what went on tonight, you know, in terms of your hunting activities.
We were hunting deer. Shot a couple grows too.
Okay. So, I'm going to need some more details on that though, like, so who were you with?
My buddy.
What's his name?
Thomas.
Buddy Thomas?
Yeah.
And is he from Prince George?
He's from Fort, but...
Fort Fraser or Fort St. James?
But he lives in Prince now.
Oh, okay.
Cody tells Officer Hill that he and his buddy Thomas left work that day around 4 p.m. and met up in the area to go hunting. He said they got into his friend's truck and started driving around. Just after dark, he said they saw a deer in the headlights. So Thomas got out of the car and shot it with his rifle. They then loaded the deer into Thomas's truck, and Cody said that Thomas then went home, saying that he would dump the deer on his way. The story was already sounding fishy to Officer Hill.
Why would you shoot something and dump it?
Like, now that you're kind of caught, and I don't know, it just doesn't seem really that right anymore, does it?
Just doesn't seem right at all to me.
No, it doesn't.
So what's with the blood on the pipe wrench? Well, there was a story about hitting it with a pipe wrench or something. What's with that? What happened there?
Hit it.
To kill it?
Yeah.
Put it out of its misery?
Yeah.
Who hit it, you or him?
Me and him.
You both hit it?
Yeah.
In turns hitting it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you don't know where, you weren't with him when he dumped it then?
No.
No? Okay. And now, Cody, this story's true. I mean, you're not, we're going to find out because we're going to go down the road and possibly even tonight you're going to show me the road. I don't know where this is going to go yet. We're going to find your buddy. You know, if there is something more to the story, you might as well tell us now because...
There's nothing. I told you what happened.
Well, it just seems kind of weird. I'm having a bit of a hard... You seem like a fairly sensible guy to me. Like, you seem like a fairly...
and, why I'm cooperating is because I just want to go home.
Yeah. So, why the shorts and stuff? Like, did you...
Just threw it on.
Just after the deer bonking, you took your hunting pants off and put your shorts on? Or
no, I have my shorts.
Oh, you were wearing them the whole time?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I seen some camel pants in your truck there.
Yeah, they were just in my truck.
Okay. Okay, so if we run this blood, if we do a forensic match on it, we're going to find out it's deer blood, right?
I guess so, yeah.
You guess so.
It obviously is.
Okay.
I told you what happened.
All the blood. So the blood on a knife, on a pipe wrench, all that will be deer blood. Okay. Okay, because I'm just trying to give you every opportunity. If there's something more to the story, to let's do it now before we spend a bunch of time and try to sort
he
through
said
this.
you just wanted to ask me a couple questions, and then I'd probably be on my way.
Yeah.
Well,
the story seems odd, Cody, to be honest with you.
Well, obviously it seems odd, right?
I mean, I've never really encountered anybody that would just go out and kill a deer, beat it with a wrench, throw it in a truck, and then go and dump it. Like, why not just leave it there in the first place? Why would you?
It was on the road.
Why not drag it off the road?
I don't know. We just put it in the truck.
Officer Hill asked Cody if when they talked to his friend Thomas, he'll back up his story.
Either tonight or tomorrow, if we talk to Thomas, is he going to tell us the same story?
Probably not.
No.
I'm just being honest with you. He's probably not going to say it.
Yeah.
He knows it's illegal.
Yeah.
Officer Hill then asks why the Leatherman knife has blood on it.
So, you didn't... There's a little bit of blood on your Leatherman tool. What's that from?
Cut it.
Oh, you said a minute ago you didn't cut it?
No, cut it.
Oh, cut it?
Yeah.
Cut its throat?
Yeah.
Okay. Why did you do that?
To kill it.
Okay, so shooting it and beating it on the head didn't kill it, so you're cutting its throat now?
We just cut it. Okay. I'm not saying why we did it or what happened, but I'm just saying we cut it.
Right.
Cody was placed under arrest for a violation of Wildlife Act, illegally poaching. Meanwhile, Constables Kelleher and Sidhu had finished searching Cody's truck. They had found a wallet and a hospital card belonging to a Lauren Leslie. Officer Hill went to go investigate where Cody's truck had pulled out from, and after about 15 to 20 minutes had passed, Constable Kelleher radioed him to see what he had found. The response was chilling. Officer Hill said, "Worst case scenario." Officer Hill had retraced the truck's tire tracks back up the road and found footprints in the snow. He followed the footprints and came across the body of 15-year-old Lauren Leslie. She had been partially buried near a gravel pit by the road. Her pants had been pulled down, and while she was definitely deceased, her body was still warm to the touch. Cody was again placed under arrest, this time for murder.
Cody, the time now is 0015 hours on the 28th of November 2010. I told you already that I arrested you for murder of...
I did not murder anybody.
Listen to me, okay?
Yeah.
I'm arresting you for the murder of Lauren Dawn Toews, Toews. It is my duty to inform you. You have the right to retain and seek counsel in private without delay. You may call any lawyer you want.
I want to call my dad.
There is a 24-hour telephone service available which provides you a legal aid duty lawyer who can give you legal advice in private. This advice is given without a charge and the lawyer can explain the legal aid plan to you. If you wish to contact a legal aid lawyer, I can provide you with a telephone number. Do you understand?
Yeah.
As Constable Sidhu is telling him about his right to an attorney, you'll notice that Cody suddenly acknowledges that he has seen the body. At one point, he says that he found it.
When do I get to call my dad?
Just hang on a second.
Because I didn't do this. Seen it? Yes. I want you to leave.
Do you want to call a lawyer?
I want to call my dad.
You have the right to call a lawyer right now. How old are you? You're an adult?
I want to call my dad.
You're an adult? So you have a right to call a lawyer right now. Do you want to call a lawyer?
I want to call my dad.
Okay, is your dad a lawyer?
I want to call my dad.
Okay.
Because I didn't do this.
You have a right for a lawyer? I'm asking you. Do you want to call a lawyer right now or not?
I don't know why I'm fucking in here.
I told you, you're under arrest for murder.
I did not murder anybody.
Well, I am investigating a murder.
Yeah.
I have reasons to believe.
But I did not murder anybody. Found it.
Okay, well, I don't know nothing about that right now, so now...
Well, then don't assume that I did murder somebody.
Well, I have reasonable grounds to believe.
Well, I did not.
Okay, so do you want to call a lawyer or not?
Yeah.
Okay, do you have a lawyer?
My dad would know. I want a cigarette out of my truck. I don't know any lawyers.
Okay. Also, you're not obliged to say anything. Anything you say may be given as evidence. Do you understand?
Yeah. I want to talk to my dad.
Sorry?
Because I did not do this. Drive down a road and find this?
Okay.
It's fucked
Before
up.
you tell me anything, you said you want to speak to a lawyer. We'll get you a lawyer first before you start telling me anything, okay?
Yeah.
That's your right. You have a right to speak to a lawyer before you talk to me or tell me anything.
Yeah.
So, we'll work on getting you a lawyer as soon as we can.
Cody is taken to the police station and charged with murder.
You're listening to this podcast, so you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
So, who was Cody Legebokoff? And who is the victim, Lauren Leslie? On the surface, Cody Legebokoff was seemingly your typical 20-year-old, maybe even more successful and put together than the ones you know. He was living on his own in an apartment in downtown Prince George. He had a steady girlfriend, his own pickup truck, and a good job. He worked as a mechanic at a local Ford dealership. He reportedly came from a well-to-do family that had been in the sawmill business in northern British Columbia. And friends and family would later describe him as a popular guy, a typical Canadian kid, the boy next door, who liked playing ice hockey, liked going snowboarding, and liked partying. They said he had showed no propensity for violence. He had a minor criminal record, if anything at all. But now he was being arrested and charged with the first-degree murder of 15-year-old Lauren Leslie. Lauren was a 10th grader from nearby Fraser Lake. According to her family, she was legally blind and was very self-aware. She was upbeat and was a trusting person who did not judge, perhaps to a fault. And at the time of her murder, no one could figure out how the paths of Lauren and Cody had crossed. The next day, a day after his arrest, Cody talked to police. He again says that he just found the body and got scared. But he adds some additional details, too. He says he found some items on the ground by the body, and so he decided to take them. A cell phone, a knife, wrench, a bag, bottles of mudslide alcoholic drinks, essentially all of the suspicious items that officers had found the night before in Cody's truck. He says he found next to the body. But then he admits to something else. He says he touched her and rolled her over. And he says by doing that, it caused bruising on his hands.
So let me see if I get this straight then. So you come in, you're in your truck. You get out. Where do you go?
Just walking in front of my truck and seeing all this shit there. And then walked up and seen it. I kind of rolled her over a bit and seen she's dead. then I'm assuming obviously that's where the blood came from, on like my shoe or whatever, and my hand, and like, yeah, like all that stuff. And
What do you show me there? Sorry.
like from branches and all that. And
Okay, like, so is that scratch there on your hand that you're showing me?
let's see.
Right on the inside here?
No, those are old.
Okay.
But like that.
Yeah, like the abrasions that you're showing me on your
Yeah.
palms there and stuff? Okay. And how did you get those?
I'm assuming from like flipping her over and just seeing if she was still alive, and she was not, and that's why I got the hell out of there. And fast too. I had like a couple scratches on my knees from the trees and branches and whatnot, and picked up the shit and threw my truck in reverse and got out of there.
Do you remember what they, like...
It was dark and her face was dark and red, and it was just like disgusting, and I got the hell out of there as fast as I could.
Okay.
Because I was scared.
Right.
And like, because I have a life and all that stuff. And I don't need to be mixed up in something like this. And yeah, that's the story.
That's the story. The next day, however, in another police interview, Cody's story evolved. In this interview, he admits to knowing Lauren and says that he did meet up with her that night. He says he met her on a website called Nexopia, a Canadian social networking site, and that they would text each other as friends. He says that on the night of November 27th, his girlfriend was over, and when she left, he decided to go visit some of his friends in a nearby town. He says he picked up Lauren and they went driving around. They then had sex in his truck, and afterwards, he says she got out of the truck and started flying off the handle, rolling on the ground, and essentially beating herself up.
So she gets out of the truck. She's rolling around on the ground. And how's she hitting herself? Show me.
She took the shoes.
Huh?
There was a wrench.
Okay.
I had a wrench in my truck.
Okay.
And it was, I believe it was on my floor.
Okay.
And I don't know if she must have seen that, or if she had, yeah. And I guess she had a knife on her, or what was going on.
Okay.
And yeah, and she was hitting herself. And I was more stunned and in awe than anything, right? And at the end of it, I was just like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah.
Like, this girl's lying here. Well, now she's fucking pretty well dead. And I don't know what to do.
Okay.
And I picked up the shit. Fucked off.
Okay.
Literally left.
And where was she when you said she's dead?
She was kind of running around, and then I kind of pulled her off to the side a bit.
Tell me about that.
I pulled her off to the side.
How?
I pulled her off to the side.
Okay.
And then it was fucked. And I got so fucking scared, I had to leave.
Okay.
I didn't know what to do.
Okay, that's fine.
The fact is, I didn't do anything. I was there, but I did not kill this woman. And I left. And I did.
You did leave, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I was scared. I didn't know what to do.
That's fair.
But I don't know what else to say.
2 days after that interview, Cody asked to speak with investigators again. This time, he admitted that he had hit Lauren a couple times with the wrench, but only after she beat herself up, so he could put her out of her misery. Not surprisingly, Cody was not released after telling the police that Lauren had essentially killed herself and that he had watched. Instead, he would be going to trial for her murder. But while his case was moving through the system, investigators were able to connect him to 3 other cases. In October 2011, Cody was charged with the murders of 3 additional women: 35-year-old Jill Stacy Stuchenko, 35-year-old Cynthia Frances Maas, and 23-year-old Natasha Lynn Montgomery. Jill Stuchenko went missing on October 22, 2009. Her disappearance was widely reported. She was the mother of 5 children, ages 2 through 14, when she disappeared. Jill worked as an escort for several agencies in Prince George, and she didn't have a fixed home address. At the time, people had openly wondered whether a John had done something with her. Her body was found 4 days after she went missing, on October 26, 2009, in a gravel pit off the side of the road in the outskirts of Prince George. About a year later, and about a month prior to Lauren Leslie's body being found and Cody being arrested, the body of 35-year-old Cynthia Frances Maas was found in October 2010. Cynthia had been reported missing that September, and her body was found in LC Gun Park, a remote area of Prince George that was reportedly frequented by sex trade workers. Cynthia had also been in the sex trade business, but more importantly, she was a mother too. The third woman Cody was charged with murdering was 23-year-old Natasha Lynn Montgomery. She also disappeared in September 2010, right around the same time as Cynthia Maas, and she too was a mother. She was also reportedly involved in the sex trade, and her body, to this day, has never been found. So here we have 4 victims total, starting with Jill Stuchenko in October 2009, and then about a year later, in September 2010, Cynthia Maas and Natasha Montgomery go missing. And then a month after that, in October 2010, Lauren Leslie's body is found, and Cody is arrested. I went back and forth in my head about whether to mention that these ladies had been escorts. Why? Because I don't want that fact to allow anybody to think of them as any less than victims. But it's important to note that these women were vulnerable, and these are the women that Cody preyed upon. And it's important as I continue this story because it does come up at Cody's trial. But please just remember that first and foremost, these women are all mothers and daughters who didn't deserve what happened to them. I spoke with Mark Nielsen, a reporter with the Prince George Citizen. He covered Cody's case and attended some of his pre-trial hearings along with his trial. The media was not allowed to report on anything they learned at the pre-trial hearings, so going into Cody's trial, virtually nothing was known to the public about the evidence in the case. Mark told me that there was over 6,000 pages of forensic evidence, and when he learned that, he figured that the case against him was pretty solid. You'll hear Mark's voice sporadically throughout this episode as we go through Cody's trial. Cody's trial began on June 3, 2014. He was being charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder for the murders of Jill Stuchenko, Natasha Montgomery, Cynthia Maas, and Lauren Leslie. In his opening statement, Crown Prosecutor Joseph Temple told the jury that Cody's DNA was found on 3 of the 4 victims. He told them how Lauren's case first drew their attention to Cody. He said Cody and Lauren met in November 2010 after meeting online on Nexopia, where Cody went by the username one country boy. The two exchanged text messages and then decided to meet up. He described how Constable Kelleher saw Cody's truck pulling out from a remote road and speeding away. He said Kelleher pulled him over and noticed blood on Cody as well as in his truck. He told them how Lauren's partially buried body was found and how her pants had been pulled down. He said she died from head injuries and loss of blood, likely from stab wounds on the side of her neck. He told the jury about Cody's inconsistent stories, how he first said that he had stumbled across the body by accident and had picked up the items by her body because he was scared, and how he then said that the two had met, had consensual sex, and that Lauren then became agitated and started hitting and stabbing herself, committing suicide right in front of him, and how he then added that he had hit her twice with the wrench to put her out of her misery. Temple then moved on to Jill Stachenko and Cynthia Moss, saying that they both suffered blunt force trauma to their heads, along with other injuries. He said Cynthia was likely killed where she was found, in a Prince George Park, naked from the waist down. He said that once Cody was in custody, they were able to link him to Jill, Cynthia, and Natasha. He said a pickaxe they found in Cody's apartment had traces of Cynthia's DNA, and that semen samples found on Jill's body also matched Cody's DNA. Although Natasha's body has never been found, Temple said that shirts, shorts, bedsheets, a comforter, and an axe in Cody's apartment had tested positive for her DNA. Temple told the court that Cody frequently used cocaine that he got from women in the sex trade. The Crown called over 90 witnesses to the stand, and I won't be able to cover them all, but here are some of the highlights. Lauren Leslie's father was the first to testify, and as he did, he identified her belongings that had been found in Cody's truck: her monkey backpack, her black and white checkered wallet, her glasses, and a family ring he said that he had made for her that contained all the birthstones of the entire family. On cross-examination, Cody's attorney, James Heller, asked about Lauren's mental state. Her father denied that she was bipolar or psychotic, but said that she had serious anxiety issues. When Heller began pressing him on this issue, there was reportedly a tense moment in the courtroom, with Lauren's father asking Heller, "Are you a father?" Lauren's mother also took the stand. When shown her daughter's monkey backpack, she hugged it and said that Lauren loved it and wore it all the time. She testified that on the night of her death, Lauren had texted her to say that she was meeting up with one of her girlfriends. Her mom said she told her to be home by 1 a.m., and she said she then dozed off and was woken up by a police officer calling to tell her that her daughter's body had been found. Lauren's mom acknowledged that Lauren had some issues that she had been dealing with. She said that Lauren had told her that she had been sexually assaulted before, but that she didn't believe her at the time. She said Lauren was diagnosed with post-traumatic depression and was on medication for it. She said one time she was taken to a hospital to have her stomach pumped after an overdose. She also told the jury that Lauren was a delicate cutter who would make superficial cuts to her wrist. It was something she started doing at the age of 12 and did regularly, about 9 times a year. Lauren's mom said that the cutting wasn't a suicide attempt, that she was just making a statement. She said her daughter was diagnosed as bipolar and had been admitted to a psychiatric ward at one point, and that she had run away from the hospital not long before her murder. Constable Kelleher, the RCMP officer who had first pulled Cody over the night that Lauren's body was found, testified about his encounter with Cody that night, how he saw blood on Cody and in the truck, how he had searched the truck, and how he had initially arrested Cody for poaching. He said he had a knot in his stomach after putting Cody in handcuffs after Lauren's body was found. Dr. John Stefanelli, a forensic pathologist, testified about Lauren's injuries. He said she died from a combination of blood loss and brain injury, resulting from blows to the side of the head and a deep puncture wound to the neck. He said that deep puncture wound damaged her voice box, and although no major arteries were damaged by it, other small arteries and veins were. He called it a serious wound that caused a significant amount of bleeding. He said that, with medical attention, the neck wound would have been survivable. Without medical attention, it would have been fatal. Dr. Stefanelli then walked the jury through Lauren's other injuries, as they were shown photographs from her autopsy. There were injuries to Lauren's hands, consistent with defensive wounds, which included swollen and broken fingers, which appeared to have been stomped on. She also had several cuts and bruises, and a broken nose bone. He said that she had been struck quite hard on the front of her face, at least once. With regard to her head wounds, Dr. Stefanelli said that a significant amount of force was used and that he did not believe that it was possible for them to have been self-inflicted. He said that she had suffered at least 3 blows to her head, which had caused deep cuts, any of which would have been incapacitating enough to the point where she could have never inflicted the other injuries that she had suffered. He said that when you add in the fractures to her fingers and her other hand injuries, she wouldn't have been capable of doing all of that to herself. Corporal Kimberly Tremblay took the jury through photos of the scene where Lauren's body had been found, near a gravel pit off Highway 27, north of Vanderhoof. She said her role in the investigation was to photograph and record the scene, as well as any evidence found there. The photos depicted evidence markers by a tire track, a shoe print impression, a shoe, blood, and some light-colored hair on a branch. Tremblay was qualified as an expert in examining, measuring, and photographing crime scenes, and in analyzing fingerprints and tracks left by footwear and tires. Tremblay said casts of the tire track and shoe print impression were taken. She said she compared the shoe print impression with one of Cody's shoes, a USA size 11. In one of her tests, she told the jury how she put her whole foot into the shoe and then stepped into a styrofoam block to create a 3D model that would show any distinguishing features or wear marks. After looking at the model, she said she concluded that a shoe of similar size and shape could have created the shoe impression found at the scene. Tremblay also made tire track comparisons. She compared the tire marks left at the scene with Cody's tires, but she said that she concluded that while the 2 tire marks were of similar size and shape, she couldn't make a positive identification. Also during Tremblay's testimony, photos of Cody's apartment were shown to the jurors. In a photo of Cody's master bedroom, there was a picaroon leaning against the wall next to the nightstand. A picaroon, for those who don't know, including myself, is a long pole with a spike on it that's used for logging or fishing. The Crown said that Cynthia Massa's blood was found on it. In other photos from Cody's apartment, the jury could see blood stains on a sweatshirt, a pillowcase, a bedsheet, door frames, and moldings. Tremblay told the jury that investigators had used a special chemical and uncovered a bloodstain on the floor that had Cody's heel print in the middle. RCMP Sergeant Beverly Zaporozhin, a forensic specialist, presented photos of personal items that had been taken from Cody on the night of his arrest. She said that blood matching that of Lauren Leslie was found on his shoes, shorts, shirt, and jacket, But get this, Lauren's blood wasn't the only blood found on those items from that night. Natasha Montgomery's blood was found on the shorts that he had been wearing, and blood found on his sock was from Cynthia Moss. Sergeant Zaporozhin testified that she took swabs from multiple stains found in Cody's apartment, too. She said she applied 2 different chemicals to the stains in the apartment, testing them for blood. She said stains were found on multiple surfaces, including on the walls, floors, dining room table, chair, carpet, box spring and mattress, bathtub, bathroom sink, and backsplash. She said she tested some samples right at the scene to check for a positive blood result and also cut out samples of carpet or fabric for testing. She said that Natasha's blood was found in 15 spots in the kitchen and dining room areas, including on the dining room ceiling. On the dining room floor, an imprint of Cody's foot was found in a pool of Natasha's blood. There was also blood spatter forming 100-plus stains on the dining room wall and baseboard, also from Natasha. Mark said the blood evidence was overwhelming.
There was just blood everywhere. He lived in 2 places during this whole thing. He was living in a basement suite for a while where it looks like he killed Stuchenko and then dragged her body out to a gravel pit. There's this great big glob of blood on the couch, and yet he takes it with him. His roommates noticed it, and he just told them that, well, I had a nosebleed, and they bought that, right? And then he takes the thing with him. So he moves to this other apartment. After the Lauren Leslie murder, after he's arrested, of course, the police get warrants to search his apartment. And they did all the forensic searching with the blue lights and whatnot. And they just found blood everywhere, including blood that matched the DNA from Natasha Montgomery. They found a picaroon with blood on it. His shorts had blood on them, and not just from Lauren Leslie. It was all there. It was going to be pretty hard to defend against that.
RCMP Constable Dennis Engel brought a picaroon and an axe to court, which the Crown presented as the murder weapons for both Cynthia and Natasha. Both weapons had been taken from Cody's apartment, and both had tested positive for blood. Cynthia's blood was reportedly on the picaroon, and blood from Natasha was reportedly found on the axe. Cody's girlfriend Amy also took the stand, a moment that may have actually forced Cody to show some emotion during the trial, something that he hadn't been doing prior. Amy told the court that she first met Cody in the summer of 2010 after getting a job working at the Ford car dealership where Cody worked as a mechanic. She said the relationship moved quickly. After their first date, she started going over to his apartment 3 or 4 times a week, and she would often spend the night. When asked if she had ever noticed any stains in Cody's apartment, Amy said yes. She testified that there was a bloody handprint on the wall that you could see right as you entered the apartment, and there was a big blood stain on the carpet at the end of the hallway leading into Cody's bedroom. She also recalled a stain on the living room curtain and one on a back couch cushion. She said Cody had explanations for the stains. He told her that the bloody handprint on the wall was from when he had cut his foot one night when he was drunk, and the blood on the curtain was from a nosebleed. She said Cody drank alcohol, but that he told her that the only drugs that he had used while they were dating was marijuana. On the night that Lauren was killed, she said she went over to Cody's apartment after getting off work around 5 p.m. They watched TV until Cody started to fall asleep on her lap. She said she decided to go home around 6:30. The next day, she said she didn't see him at work, and so she started to worry about him. She drove by his apartment to see if his truck was there, and it wasn't. She said she drove by again later and saw police cars, and so she got out and went to talk to the officers, who then told her what had happened. The Crown also played a video of Amy visiting Cody in jail in the days after he was arrested.
I think the thing that probably stood out the most for me was when they showed the video of the girlfriend at the police station. And before that, she had the backbone to show up and testify, at the courthouse. And just a really pleasant, nice young lady, trusting and just wanted to think the best of her guy. And what happened was, on the night that Lauren Leslie was killed, she had gone to his apartment. They were sitting there watching TV, and he faked being tired to kind of get her out. And then, of course, hopped some crack and then took off and did what he did. And it was really kind of heart-wrenching because at one point in the video she was saying, was it my fault that he had fallen asleep? Then she kind of got, he kind of sort of let out more about what was going on and how he met her online. And she kind of got the sense that she was being two-timed, and then it turned into a big sort of Dear John scenario. And, she didn't walk out in a huff, but, she knew it was over right there. It was like she wasn't going to put up with any more of that.
The Crown rested their case, and the court took a 3-week break before the defense would get their turn. During his opening statement, Cody's attorney, Jim Heller, had told the jury that Cody would testify and that he would be admitting much that is incriminating and shocking. And he certainly was not exaggerating. Cody took the stand in his own defense, and if you thought his story of how Lauren killed herself was unbelievable, then wait until you hear his story about how the other 3 women died. I want to first address Cody's appearance at trial, because unlike so many other cases you see where the defendant tries to look as innocent and clean-cut as possible, Cody actually looked kind of mean. When he was arrested, Cody had longer blonde hair and a baby face, but when he testified, he had a shaved head and a goatee. Now, that's not to say that everyone with a shaved head and a goatee is mean-looking, of course, but it was just definitely a stark contrast to what he had looked like prior to being in jail. When Cody got up on the stand, he testified that he was not responsible for the murders, but that he did witness them. He said that the real killers were actually 3 drug dealers he knew. Before he got into his version of what happened, he told the jury that he would not identify the drug dealers by name because he didn't want to be a rat. He said he would instead refer to them by the letters X, Y, and Z. Cody started his testimony by talking about his upbringing, how he and his family would go on family trips together. He said that he moved to Prince George as a young adult and got into a heavy partying lifestyle. He said sometimes 100 people would show up to party with him. He said his dating patterns and internet exchanges with women resulted both in friendships and sexual encounters. He partook in cocaine and alcohol-fueled parties, both at his current apartment where he lived alone and at the house that he had shared with roommates prior to moving into his apartment. He said that he was 20 years old when he was arrested and that he was now 24. He detailed the progression of his drug and alcohol use, saying that he started drinking at about 12 or 13 and that he started smoking marijuana and using magic mushrooms. From there, he began frequently using crack cocaine. He said he met X and got cocaine from him while also doing runs for him. Cody said he first met Jill Stachenko over Thanksgiving weekend in 2009, when his roommates were gone and he had the house to himself. He said she came over to his place with several other people and they all partied and did drugs together. He said they were in the basement. He was sitting on a futon, and X and Y were sitting on a couch, with Jill across from him. He said he noticed that she wasn't an ugly woman, so he thought he'd try his luck. He began sexy talking with her, which led to a sexual encounter in his bedroom. He said he didn't know that she was a prostitute at the time. When it was over, Cody said he returned to the futon. He said X then pulled out crack cocaine and a couple of crack pipes. Cody said it was his first time using crack. Around midnight, everyone had left except for him, Jill, X, and Y. He and Y went for a smoke in his bedroom when X came in and told them that Jill was going to be killed because she owed a lot of money to somebody. He said he was told to sit on the couch while Y watched the door. 2 or 3 minutes later, X went up to Jill and hit her in the back of her head with a pipe. Cody said she fell on her side, and X dropped the pipe and then hit her a few more times with his hands before finally choking her. Cody said she didn't respond at all and that he didn't say anything. He said X then pulled her off the couch, and then he and Y took off her bloody clothes. Cody said he then put her clothes into garbage bags along with her purse. He then looked through her purse and found her cell phone, which he then broke in half. He said on the stand, "I have no idea why I did that." Cody said the last time he saw Jill's body was in this driveway, when X and Y put it in the back of a pickup truck and then left. Cody said he then did what he had been told to do. He dumped the garbage bags with Jill's belongings in a random dumpster, and then he went home to clean up the blood. When his attorney James Heller asked him how he felt about what he did, Cody responded, "I kick myself in the ass every day. I knew that what I did wasn't right." But then he said he went back to work on that following Tuesday and went on with his life as though nothing happened. Cody then talked about Cynthia Moss. He said he first met her in 2010 at another party at his house. He, Cynthia, X, and Y were sitting around on the couch smoking crack. X and Cynthia got up and left the room, and then he said he heard a noise, a loud cracking noise, followed by a thud. He said X had struck Cynthia with a tool that was about 1.5 feet long. He and Y walked over, and they saw Cynthia on her stomach. She wasn't moving. X then said that he had to leave, and so Cody and Y had to dispose of the body. They put her in Cody's truck, and he drove, while Y gave him directions on where to go. When they got to their destination, he said he realized that Cynthia might still be alive. He pulled a logging tool out of his console, and he gave it to Y so that Y could finish her off. He said Y was then gone for about 5 minutes or so, and that he heard it, but he did not see it. He said he believes that Y then took her body further into the bush. As for what happened to Natasha Montgomery, Cody said that she, along with X and Z, showed up at his house one night when he was already high on crack cocaine. He had never met Z or Natasha before that night. He said they all sat down to smoke crack. When Natasha got up to go to the bathroom, X told him that Natasha was about to be killed. He said he felt that if he didn't go along with the plan, he would be killed too. Cody said Z pulled out a steel bar from his pant leg and gave it to X. When Natasha came out of the bathroom, X got up and hit her in the face with the steel bar. Cody said Natasha was making sounds, but he couldn't tell what she was saying. Both X and Natasha fell down onto the floor, and X was on top of her for about 5 minutes. Cody said there was a lot of movement. X then got up and dragged Natasha down the hallway, and he asked Cody for a kitchen knife. He then cut her throat. Cody said X then asked him for a saw, but he didn't have one, so he gave him an axe. He said that he chose not to look, and he didn't see what they did with her after that. X and Z then asked for towels and sheets, and then left with Natasha's body wrapped in a sheet. Cody said that after they left, he smoked some more crack and then cleaned up the mess. Attorney Heller asked Cody about Lauren's death and how that happened. Cody said that he and Lauren had started talking online in November 2010 and agreed to meet up in Vanderhoof. He said he knew that she was only 15 and that he wasn't going to pressure her into having sex or anything like that, but then that changed once she got into his truck. He said they had sex twice in his truck and that both times it was a mutual decision. And then, for some reason unknown to him, he said that Lauren began hitting herself in the face with her hands. He said she then grabbed a wrench that he had in his truck and got out of the vehicle. He got out after a few minutes too, and he saw her laying on the ground on her stomach, a knife and the wrench beside her. He said he had no idea how or when she got the knife. He said it may have been in his truck because he has a lot of tools in there, but he couldn't be sure. Cody then said he picked up the wrench and either out of anger, frustration, or panic, hit her on the head with it a few times. And after that, Lauren stopped moving. Attorney Heller asked Cody if he was angry, what he had been angry about. Cody responded that he was pissed off that it came to this and that this had happened. He said he paced back and forth trying to decide what he should do. He tried pulling Lauren's body off the road, but he said that her hands kept getting in the way, so he grabbed her clothes by the neck and dragged her into a thick bush. He then grabbed his knife and wrench and left. Cody said he then pulled away in a hurry, and when he pulled out onto the highway, he saw the cop car right behind him. He said he told the cop a bullshit story about having gone hunting for deer. Heller asked Cody why the jury should believe him now, given the fact that he had initially lied. Cody responded that he knows that what he's done is wrong and that he should go to prison, but only for what he's done and not for what the Crown thinks that he's done. I talked to Mark about Cody's testimony. Was there any part of it as he was testifying that sounded believable, like when you heard it in person? Like, was it as ridiculous as it looked like it was when you see it in print?
Oh, for sure. For sure. And you could tell he really rehearsed it. He spent a lot of time in custody, of course. He was there since his arrest after the Lauren Leslie murder. And I think he also spent a lot of time in segregation, kind of away from the rest of the population. So he had a lot of time to kind of rehearse this.
On cross-examination, Crown Prosecutor Temple asked several times who X was and questioned why Cody refused to give up their identities. But Cody wouldn't budge, saying, "Guys who give up names to cops are not treated with any respect in prison. I will not go to a federal penitentiary as a rat on 3 murder charges. That's not in the cards." But Temple didn't hold back, and he replied, "In prison, people who commit sexually motivated murders and assaults get even less respect than rats, don't they?" Supreme Court Justice Glenn Parrott stepped in, and he told Cody to give up the names. But Cody looked directly at the jury, agitated, and replied, "I am not going to be giving any names." Justice Parrott said that an application for contempt of court against Cody would be heard at the trial's conclusion, since he was refusing to give up the names. Temple pressed Cody on the details of his stories, while pointing out inconsistencies with the evidence that had been presented in court. He said that Cody's version of what happened to Natasha Montgomery, saying that X had struck her at the end of the hallway just after she got out of the bathroom, did not explain how Natasha's blood was found splattered all over his bedroom. And when it came to Lauren's murder, Temple pointed out that her blood and her iPod were found quite some distance away from where Cody's truck had been, even though Cody had claimed that she had stabbed herself in front of his truck. Temple also said that the knife used to kill Lauren was a utility knife that was quite complicated to open, yet Cody never made any mention of her having opened it. And then there were the interrogation tapes, where Cody is explaining to the officer what happened to Lauren. Temple told Cody that he had slipped up when describing how Lauren got out of the truck. Cody had told the officer she was trying to make a run, kind of like walking, like she was mad and she was hitting herself with this wrench. Temple pointed out that Cody had almost said that she was trying to make a run for it before correcting himself. Temple also pointed out Lauren's defensive injuries, that her ring finger was broken, and that it was likely from her trying to protect herself while being hit with a wrench. But Cody denied that, saying that that must have happened when he dragged her. Temple got to Jill Stachenko's murder and said that a significant amount of her blood had been found on Cody's couch, which didn't match with his story about X having gotten up to hit her with the pipe. Temple said, "You hit her on the head. You stunned her. You punched her, just as you described Mr. X did. And then you stabbed her in the neck, and then you watched while she bled to death on your couch. And then you took her body out in your truck and tried to bury her in the gravel pit." Cody said that that wasn't true. Temple said, "You expect the jury to believe that you were so trusted by this drug dealer that he was willing to commit a murder in your presence after only a month and a half's acquaintance? That's your evidence?" And Cody replied, yes. Temple said that both Cynthia's and Lauren's bodies were in similar positions when they were found, even though Cody claimed that Y had finished Cynthia off and had discarded her body. Temple said both had their pants and underwear pulled down to their ankles, and both had been dragged, and that was because Cody had killed both of them himself. Temple said that even if his stories about X, Y, and Z were true, Cody would still be responsible because he allegedly supplied the murder weapon in all three of those instances, even though he knew what was going to happen to them. Cody responded, "I was also under the influence of drugs at the time, and I wasn't really with it." The defense also presented witnesses who claimed that Jill Stachenko and Natasha Montgomery were drug users who had drug debts. One witness said that he had paid a $500 debt on Jill's behalf, and another witness testified that Natasha's head was shaved because she had owed money. In his closing argument, Heller said that Cody should be found guilty of second-degree murder and not first-degree. He said Cody admitted involvement in all 4 murders, but that he did not commit them in a planned or deliberate way. He said Cody may be young, but that he's not stupid. He said that if Cody was such a good liar, he could have told a better story after having 4 years in prison to think about it. He said that Cody's story does not exonerate him, and that Cody could have gotten on the stand and told a story that would have made him far less culpable. Heller reiterated his point that 3 of the victims were drug users, and that both Jill Stachenko and Natasha Montgomery had drug debts, referring to their witness testimony. Heller then talked about Lauren's mental health. He said that less than a week before her death, Lauren had been released after spending 18 days in psychiatric care. He also said that an RCMP officer had found evidence that she had been overdosing on prescription meds that had been prescribed to her on the day of her release. He told the jury that Lauren's psychiatrist had minimized what appeared to be some problematic aspects of her mental defect. He said that if Cody had been planning on killing her, he wouldn't have left a trail of internet messages, text messages, and had then driven up to the location where they met, where others could see them, if he had planned to kill her. Heller also pointed to Cody's cocaine and crack cocaine use and said that there was no evidence that Cynthia Moss had ever been in Cody's apartment, and nor was any evidence found on the weapon used to kill her. In their closing arguments, Crown Prosecutor Temple said that Cody is guilty as charged of first-degree murder, which included sexual assaults or attempted sexual assaults. Temple said that Cody's story, which limits his involvement in the killings, isn't just flawed, it doesn't account for the forensic evidence. He said the story about Jill Stachenko makes no sense because, by Cody's admission, he had only met X 2 months prior. He said it was completely and utterly improbable, stating that X barely knew Cody, and how would he know that Cody wouldn't report the murder to police? Temple also said that Cody's claim of consensual sex didn't jive with the evidence. Jill had suffered injuries to her anus, and she had a tampon in when her body was discovered. He said that the cause of death, according to Cody, also didn't make sense. Cody's account being that X had hit her once in the head with a pipe, and then hit her with his hands, and then choked her. If that were true, it didn't account for the blood-soaked couch, or for Jill's substantial blood loss, as testified to from the pathologist who examined her body. He said that a major blood vessel was severed, resulting in the loss of all that blood. He said that Cody's version of Cynthia's death could not have been true either. According to Cody, the killing had started at his apartment and then moved to LC Gun Park, but her blood wasn't found on any surfaces in the apartment, only on the murder weapon, a sock, and a pair of shoes that had been found in the apartment. He said that since there had been little effort to clean up Jill's blood or Natasha's blood, if Cynthia had been killed there, her blood would have been found there too. He pointed out that none of her blood had been found in Cody's truck either, even though, according to Cody's story, he and Y had placed her in the truck before disposing of her. Temple said, "He's not being forthright. He's not giving the answers. He's not telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth." He pointed out that all 4 murders were committed over the span of 14 months, all in relatively the same area, and there were similarities in the manner in which they were murdered and how they were disposed of. He said that Cody had an MO to target vulnerable women, sexually assault them, and then kill them by inflicting massive facial and upper body blunt force and sharp force trauma using various tools. Jill, Cynthia, and Natasha were described as sex trade workers who were addicted to crack cocaine, while Lauren suffered from mental health issues. Temple said that Natasha's body has not been found because Cody decided to dismember her, but he said that her blood had been found throughout Cody's apartment, as well as on an axe found in Cody's house. And afterwards, he said that Cody then decided to take his next victim to an outdoor setting before killing her. Cynthia's body was found at the park, and Lauren near the side of the road. Perhaps one of the most interesting things about Cody's testimony is that he may have completely misunderstood what would qualify as second-degree murder.
What was really interesting was it was also a bit of an error on his part because, he's trying to say, I guess he was making a bid for second degree. And, Crown said, no, it's still first degree. You're part and parcel of the murder. You knew what was going to happen, so on and so forth. And the judge agreed in his instructions to the jury that it was still first degree, whether you believe his story or not.
And Cody may or may not have eventually realized this. Because right before the judge gave the instructions to the jury, Cody tried to plead guilty to second-degree murder. But the Crown immediately rejected that, and the judge told the jury that they could consider Cody's surprise attempt to plead guilty as an admission, as long as they considered the other evidence as well. On September 11th, 2014, after a trial that lasted more than 2 months with over 90 witnesses, Cody was found guilty of all 4 charges. Finding guilt on a charge of first-degree murder in Canada carries an automatic life sentence with no possibility of parole for 25 years. And perhaps not surprisingly, Cody showed no emotion as the verdict was read. At sentencing, an emotional Judge Parrott said that this case was one of the most difficult tasks due to the horrendous nature of the crime. He said that there was no reasonable doubt as to who had murdered the victims, 3 women and 1 girl.
The judge kind of gave, his take on the whole thing. He astutely pointed out that he was hunting. I thought that was a very astute point. There was all these references to poaching and hunting as a kid and all this kind of stuff.
Cody was indeed sentenced to life with no possibility of parole for 25 years, but there was a caveat. There was a provision in Canada called the Faint Hope Clause, which allows anyone who has been sentenced to life imprisonment with a parole eligibility of more than 15 years to apply for early parole after they have served 15 years, based on good behavior. This provision was repealed in 2011, but since the murders occurred before then, it made Cody still eligible for it. I asked Mark if he thought that Cody might really get out prior to serving 25 years.
Basically what happens is he's not eligible to apply for parole for 25 years. So he still has to go through the whole formality, and it's going to be a bit more than a formality, but he has to go through this formality of building a case to take to the parole board, and then the parole board will decide whether or not they let him out. And there have been instances where they just said, no, you're staying in. And my guess is, we'll see what happens, but my guess is he's pretty incorrigible. Unless he really, really turns things around, he's going to stay in for the rest of his life. And if he is let out, they keep a really close eye on him. I think he's got to still do reporting and things like that. What's really interesting is he kind of dodged the bullet in that since then they've changed the legislation on, where it used to be concurrent sentences, the jury can now recommend consecutive sentences, and the judge can take up that recommendation. So there have been a few instances where, this one recently, a man in Calgary was sentenced to 75 years for the murder of 3 people. So conceivably, he could have been sentenced to 100 years.
I also asked Mark if he thought that there could be other victims out there, if Cody could have killed even more women that we don't know about yet. The highway where Lauren's body was found off of was known as the Highway of Tears, after a series of Aboriginal women were found dead there, spanning from 1969 to 2011. Mark told me he doesn't think so, and I hope he's right.
As they let him away, the courtroom was packed, especially with kind of the local First Nations population. And one of this guy who had a real booming voice yells out, "Tell us where our body is." And then this woman goes up and yells, "May your name never be spoken ever again." So it was quite the scene.
Cody has gone through the system to try and appeal his conviction, in part saying that the trial judge revealed a bias against him when denying a pre-trial motion to change the venue from Prince George to Vancouver. But his appeal was denied in September 2016. It is beyond terrifying to think that a 19-year-old kid, which is how old Cody was when he first killed Jill Stachenko, could be a serial killer who preys on women. That somebody who came from a good family and lived in a nice town could feel no empathy or remorse for other human beings. How does someone go from being the boy next door to a serial killer? I think of Cody's girlfriend, who I did not want to fully name because she deserves to be able to go on with her life. But I think about how shocking it must have been for her to find out that her boyfriend was a serial killer. That one night, after hanging out with him in his apartment, he goes out and kills a young girl. How can you trust somebody again after that? My heart goes out to Cody's family, too. According to Mark's sources, they supported him at first, but after more info started coming out about his involvement, they eventually just couldn't do it anymore. And of course, I think about the victims and their families and what they must have gone through. Remember that Jill, Cynthia, and Natasha all had children, and Lauren was herself a child. The amount of lives that Cody has ruined, even if you believe his versions, is incomprehensible.
Natasha Montgomery, her body has never been found, and her mother was there for the whole thing, and so was her dad. And you could tell that really ate at her, that, she'll never find out what happened to her baby girl.
And that's all for today's episode. A special thank you to Mark Nielsen from the Prince George Citizen for helping me out with this case. And a special thank you to my Patreon supporters, Allie, Charlie, Vaughn, Marcy, and Dory. If you'd like to donate as little as $1 a month to this podcast, please go to courtjunkie.com/support, and you can sign up on Patreon there. I'm in the process of adding some extra perks. I just added Court Junkie stickers for those who donate $3 or more, and I'll be continuing to add perks, so if you like that kind of thing, please keep an eye out for it. And some other news. I've got some Court Junkie merch coming soon, too. If you haven't already, please join our Court Junkie discussion group on Facebook. We're currently talking about the upcoming Curtis Reeves trial, the Heather Mack case, and even the developments in the Tara Grinstead case. Just go to courtjunkie.com/Facebook to sign up. You can also find me on Twitter at CourtJunkiePod, or you can email me at podcast@courtjunkie.com. Thanks to all of you for listening. Until next time.